Conversations with Azu Ishekwele.
One industry commentator and energy expert refers to the coming on stream of the Dangote Refinery as the biggest industrial breakthrough in a generation. But since its commissioning in May 2023, the Dangote Refinery has faced many hurdles, nearly all of them orchestrated by the NNPCL and its subsidiaries, and as well affiliate unions in the petroleum industry. For example, there was the contradiction of a Nigerian company having to pay for Nigerian crude in dollars. Then there was another incredulous charge after the commencement of production that the plant was only 45% complete. Then it had to fight off the blackmail that its refined products had high sulfur content and many other such confrontations. Who is afraid of Dangote's refinery? Or better still, who doesn't want Nigeria to achieve self-sufficiency in oil production and distribution, and for Nigerians to enjoy cheap and affordable oil prices? They are Nigerians like you and me, our fellow citizens who fight for themselves in our name and share the spoils while we lament. Welcome to Conversation with Azu, our weekly diary on life and politics. Our topic today is a cabal in plain sight once more. And Azu, the writer of the column, is joining me live on Zoom from the UK. Hello, Azu.
How are you, Julius? A pleasure to be here.
Very well, thank you. Your background looks as if you're somewhere in the Caribbean.
No, don't mind the background. That is one of the wonders of technology. So, but thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it.
All right, so we just go straight onto our question and answer session for the day. So instead of a synergy and cooperation, why is there so much enmity between the Dangote Petroleum Company and the state-owned oil companies and their affiliates and trade unions?
Well, that's a very interesting question. The truth about it is that for a company of that scale, one will not what is happening is not completely unexpected for a company of that scale. And the degree that the value chain is supposed to have on the on us as a people. We are a major oil exporting producer and producing and exporting country ordinarily. And so, but the truth about our experience in this particular field is that in the last since 1977 or 76, when the refineries were first commissioned, we've actually been down this path. We have our the four refineries that we have that have a collective capacity of producing 450,000 barrels have been so badly managed that as I speak to you, as I said in my column today, they're unable to convert steam into water. So that's where we are. So we have, and that inefficiency and the corruption that has enabled it has created a whole raft of toll takers, of toll gates all through the value chain. And anybody who tries to upset the apple cart, as it were, would have to deal with some of the challenges that obviously the Dangote Refinery is dealing with.
So the perception is that Dangote is in to upset the apple cart for these groups. Well, my next question is, the labor unions are mostly public sector workers whose concerns are assumed to reflect public interest. Shouldn't their concerns be taken more seriously?
Again, I would like to refer to a reference that I made to Thomas Sowell, the American economist, in my column today, when he said in one of his articles, Myths About Union, that one of the myths, obviously, about unions is that unions are for workers. Unions are not for workers. Unions are for union members. So, we should actually be clear about that. I respect the rights of people to associate and for unions to exist as unions. But there is usually the problem in the public eye or perception of conflating the interest of union members with that of the general public. I'm afraid to say that I agree entirely with Thomas Sowell that they do not exactly mean the same thing. If part of you should ask yourself, what have the unions done since the refineries, the four Nigerian refineries, which for which the government has invested about $20 billion in trying to fix? What have they done since all that money has gone down the drain? They would tell you that, oh, they have said that the government should fix the refinery, the government should fix it. Of course, I've heard the unions say that. But that begs the question. If after $20 billion in trying to fix the refineries didn't work, you would also think that one of the real concerns of any truly patriotic group would be to say, no, we can't, if it was their own, if the refinery was set up by the unions to run for the unions, I don't think that the unions would be happy to invest $20 billion in a black hole. But that's where we are. I mean, all sorts of people up and down the value chain in the name of unions are actually living off our misery.
All right. The Dangote Group is facing up against vested interests who wrestled him to the ground and got the sale of the refineries to his consortium revoked by late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua. Can he survive another confrontation with them this time?
Well, I do not. I do not think that those in the Dangote Group will delude themselves to think that this is going to be that the fight with the unions will be the last. I suspect that there are also people who are already inside the Dangote system, who might also, quite unfortunately, might not be working for the full interest of what is obviously a very important national asset, apart from being a Dangote refinery. So there will be battles from outside, there will be battles from within, but I do not think that any man will invest the sum of money that he has invested to build that refinery and then just sit on his fingers and twiddle his fingers while others try to take him down. I'm sure that he's more than able to fight back and to push back, and one is hoping that the larger Nigerian public. You can also argue that the same way union are for union members, corporations are for corporates, but that because it's a very vital national asset, I'm hoping that the larger public will see that it's important in our collective interest as a country for this refinery to work and to work efficiently.
All right, thank you very much. I will take a pause while I read an excerpt from your column for our viewers. I quote, in 2007, those who swore that any refinery, public or private, would only walk over their dead bodies, forced President Umar Musa Yar'Adua to reverse the sale of the Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries with a gun over his head. Among the vested interests, the unions pulled the trigger on the $670 million sale to Blue Star, a Dangote-led consortium. Since then, Nigeria has spent an estimated $20 billion, some sources put it at 25, trying to fix 4 state refineries with a combined capacity for 450,000 barrels per day, roughly the amount it cost Dangote to build a brand new one with a capacity for 650,000 barrels per day. Still, the Cabal wants more for its whited sepulchre. End of quote. So we resume our question and answer session, Azu. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, Julius.
All right. The unions and their methods and facilities are sliding into obsolescence. Rather than fighting Dangote, shouldn't they begin to upskill themselves to stay relevant?
Absolutely, that's what I expect that they will do, and that is what I hope that they will do. The experience of Britain under Thatcher was not a very pleasant one. Thatcher had to fight the unions in order to restructure and reset and retool the British economy because unfortunately a number of unionists are so set in their ways that they really like the parable of the frog. They are in the water and don't know when it's heating up, and it might be too late for them, to jump out while there is time. So I hope that, and I would expect that what truly progressive union members will do will be to advocate for accountability. That's a fair point. To also advocate for efficiency in terms of how, but not to be not to just have their noses in the trial, because that is obviously what is happening. People are so used to the cuts that they were getting. Either so this thing that you talked about, the depots, the fight with the depots, that's another battle altogether. We developed the depot system, which now has become archaic because of inefficiencies and corruption. If the pipelines that are supposed to go to the various ports of if the pipelines were working and working efficiently, that were to go to the various ports from where crude can be exported, or from where crude can be received. If those pipelines were working and working efficiently, we won't have the tons and tons of tank farms we have across the country, or depots, which are actually symbols of inefficiency, and which people are so used to, essentially because it just benefits them to feed off our misery. People should understand that the tide is changing, and also change with the tide. I think that it's not just in their own interest; it's in the interest of the country for them to do so.
Now, what the unions also don't realize is perhaps the fact that Dangote has the means and the capability to go right down to product retailing, and they don't seem to bother about that. So I would ask, do you think we're likely to witness in the petroleum sector what happened in the mobile telecommunication sector a few decades back?
I don't know, but I think that obviously the step that Dangote has taken regarding the distribution is a clear sign that there are parts of this value chain that are still up for people who are interested, and the unions can also, if they're interested, to invest for the product to become, for the distribution to be more efficient, and for consumers to have better value. Because part of what they are against is that Dangote has about how trucks, hundreds of trucks out there now, powered on
4,000 he's about to
4,000 trucks,
deploy.
powered on, to deploy, to take this petrol directly to marketers in the various locations. And that's a far more efficient way, I believe. I don't think it's easy, but I'm sure that he has done his cost benefit. And others who are interested in investing in this value chain, there are other areas of that they can look into to invest in the value chain, so that consumers can have a far better experience, and the market can be more competitive, and products can deliver get better, consumers can get better value. But as to whether we are going to go the way of mobile phones, what mobile phones did to traditional landlines and all of that. Well, one step in that direction, obviously, is Dangote's direct involvement in distribution directly. But that's just the beginning of the process. Let's see where this game-changing effort takes us. But I think that really is what has to be done. And it's not a monopolist sort of thing. I mean, the unions can also come together and create a distribution chain that serves the interest of the consumers for the benefit of their own members.
All right. And finally, from me, one line that sticks with me from your column is you said every Nigerian has a dog in the fight. And yet the unions are warning us to beware of monopoly, which you just referenced earlier. So where do we really stand, as it were?
Well, obviously, because petrol and oil and petrol are at the heart of our economy, and whatever affects the price of petrol affects virtually everything, and immediately, almost instantaneously, impacts inflation. That is where I think that it's a matter of interest for all of us, and I do hope that the unions also realize that there are Nigerians outside of their associations or outside of their membership, and that Nigerians outside of their fold also realize that this really is something that we should all pay closer attention to for our own collective greater benefit.
Thank you very much, Azu. And to our viewers, to read the full text of this article, you can visit azuishekwene.com, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and leave your comments. Thanks for coming on the show, Azu.
Thanks for having me, Julius. I hope to be with you in the studio next week. Thank you for having me once again.
All right, bye for now.
Conversations with Azu Ishekwene.